So now they're coming for Chris Pratt. This whole cancel culture. Let's do this, and this is not the first time let's see here, that I've seen people come after Chris Pratt. Yet Chris Pratt normally, from anything I've seen, has never started the fights or anything like that. So let's talk about this. Hello, I am the geek protagonist, and got some little talking points here. So if you're wondering what happened with Chris Pratt and why it's gotten so much traction, and it's a little crazy, but basically he didn't do anything. So from what I understand, he didn't do the assemble or show up to a Biden rally, and they went nuts. They're like, see, I always knew he was a Trump supporter, and I always knew he was this, even though he's never claimed to be any of that. Biggest thing he did was he didn't want to get into politics. And because he didn't want to get into politics, now all of a sudden, that's a bad thing. There was a time when, and I remember my grandmom said this, where she said the quickest way to lose friends and the best thing to do to not, or the best things to not talk about with friends is religion and politics, because it's the quickest way to destroy a relationship. And over the course of several months, I've watched people on both sides that are on some of my social media. So, for example, on Facebook, there was a girl that someone I used to work with, it looks like he'd known her for like a long time. He decides to share a story about how she shared a picture where she had a truck and it was like, I think it had like Trump 2020 on it or something like that, or she was at a rally or something. And he starts to have a conversation and a dialogue with her. The problem is that because he's of the lettered community, his talking to her wasn't about trying to understand or trying to learn. His talking was about to change her mind. And it was kind of odd because she didn't change her mind or follow suit. And he was like, she's from another country. So they stopped. He was like, so I had to cut her off. I had to delete her. I've been on live streams of people where, now, don't get me wrong, some people are trying to be, jerks, but I've been on multiple live streams with people, once again, on both sides. I follow both sides of people because I want to hear what both sides have to say. People as well as news. Because, as I've said before, if you only trust one side or only listen to one side, then 50% of the time you're wrong. You're supposed to hear both sides to come to a conclusion. But I watched it on the other side where they were like, well, you believe in liberal media, I'm done with you. Like, it's weird. So, and he even asked the one that's from the letter community, he even said, he was like, how could she support Donald Trump and be a foreign person on his policies on there? Now, I had someone else who was talking to somebody who happened to be a conservative, and he was black because he was in the, he said being in the military and everything, he leans conservative. And the friend of mine, she actually contacts me and she goes, how could he support Donald Trump? And I'm like, well, people do have reasons. Like, they do have reasons for what they do. Maybe you should talk to them about it. See where they're coming from. But and then, they said, but he's black. How could he be black and support Donald Trump? I think people need to understand, before I get into this, your race, that's actually kind of off-putting. And because this is part of it with this Chris Pratt thing. Your race, your religious beliefs, your things like that usually isn't a 1-to-1 ratio. That doesn't mean you have to believe every single thing, or if you're a part of religion, means you agree with every single little thing that they say. That's not how that works. Humans are more complex than that. At least they try to be, or we're supposed to be. So Chris is a Christian. So now people are saying because he's a Christian, that makes him a Republican and a Trump supporter. Because he won't go into the mob and do what they tell him to do, which is you need to claim who this is and do this and do that. The funny thing is, just because you're a Christian doesn't make you a Trump supporter. There's a lot of Democrats and left people that are Christians. Like a lot of them. Go to any church, you're going to, like a Baptist church, you're going to see a lot of black people are Christian. So, but they're saying it because of that. This is after he was considered the worst Chris of the MCU. I've seen him be considered the worst Chris of something. Like, I know his wife came out and she was like, yo, is this what we need right now? Now, I didn't bring up none of this stuff because you know about my tablet and everything. Can't wait till I get my new one. But it's like, yo, what's up? Y'all, like, there's other things to worry about. And she's like, but this is what we do, like the hatred and stuff. And he's married to Schwarzenegger's daughter. So it's nuts. And people are like focusing on this. And then they turn into this insane dog pile and he hasn't even said anything. It's weird because he hasn't said a political affiliation, which is probably meaning he doesn't want to split his audience or do anything, or the fact that people are thinking way too hard on politics. Stop doing that. Your life should not be consumed. And like I said, I know people who I haven't even been able to talk to that often because every time you talk to them, they start talking about politics. Politics should be something that's on your mind, but then they're talking about the president. Well, technically there's 3 branches of, there's like the judicial, stuff like that, as well as the presidency. There's 3 branches. The other branches are actually more effective, like affects you than the president does. But 9 out of 10, you probably don't vote in those other 2. Those mid-elections and stuff, where it's like, oh, it's been like 2 years, vote for the, thing. That's ones you should be voting on because there's a lot of important factors that personally affect you, where the president affects you, but not to the same level. These are like your local governments, sheriffs. You want police reform? Those are the ones you should be voting in. Just saying. The president isn't a king. And that doesn't matter who's in office. You should vote every time if you want your area to change, if you want your things to change, if you want things to get better. Because still, your state matters. Now, it's funny because all these people are jumping on, but when you got people excluding 40-year-old white dudes and they think that they're being righteous because of this, it's kind of nuts. So the reason why I bring this up is because Brie Larson says something divisive, whether you agree with it or not. I had people when I said something that tried to come at me until they figured out what race I was, and all of a sudden they changed, which was weird. But I've had people come at me about it where I'm like, no, if someone says they want to exclude a 40-year-old white dude, black dude, Asian dude, I don't care. You're excluding an age group and you're excluding a race of that in that particular age group. That's a racial comment. That's a ageist comment. It is. It's the same thing if I said, you know what? I don't want some 40-year-old black dudes on my channel. Anybody over 40 and they're black, don't come to my channel. That's a racial comment. That's an ageist comment. And that's an exclusatory comment. I'm excluding people. But then these guys are saying stuff like, where was that energy for Brie Larson? Where was this? Like, Shazam didn't say anything. Even Don Cheadle said something a little bit. Coulson, who called people dinosaurs. Just so you know, because if I say their names, I don't know if all you know them, but the person that plays Shazam started coming at people online. And like I said, Agent Coulson and a few of the people from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they were coming to her defense, along with her mob of loyalists who even jumped on me when I was talking online, and I'm like, they're like, no, you don't understand. She's saying this, and I said, it's not the point of what she meant you're talking about. It's what she said. If you switch that around, and remember, if you want to know if something is bad, if you switch around a word here, so switch out white with black or another race, and now you would be angry that this white woman has said something, then that shows you right there, it's racist. But she's catching all the they're all of them are like catching it because they're trying to do this, and it's so nuts that they're jumping about this with Bree and stuff, and then it's like, really? So you guys are yelling at him for that, or yelling at these other actors and everything for jumping to Chris's defense, because a lot of his co-stars actually jumped to his defense. And now they're all trash, but you were celebrating them a few days ago when they assembled for Biden because Chris didn't show up to an event for could be numerous reasons, but okay. And can we please stop with these what about arguments? What about this? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Chris Pratt and the harassment that he should not be receiving. The other funny thing is that I'm constantly seeing this happen to Chris Pratt, where people are coming at him about stuff and making things up because he's never made a statement or a claim outside of, other stuff of I'm a Trump supporter or this. And yet he's normally the one being attacked. Like the situation with Ellen Page, and this is no shade. I actually overall think Ellen Page is pretty cool, like acting wise. I've liked some of her work. I've actually liked her performances. I think as she's gotten older, her performances have gotten better. And I thought she's always been a solid actress. She started coming at him because of the church he goes to. Like, she's like, well, your pastor doesn't agree with this. Now, he said that's not true. We invite everyone in. But then it turns around and goes, no, 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 no. They did it. And she started like, how dare you? And it was like, why are you coming at him? Because then that raises my question, like with Ellen Page. Like, why aren't you going after his pastor then? Why aren't you talking to his pastor? Feels a little like clout chasing. He doesn't run that church. That's the church he chose to go to. That's because they may follow his beliefs the most. But I've never seen Chris Pratt try to come at people. I've never seen Chris Pratt even do the stuff online like that. I know his wife does. His wife is for Biden. But Chris doesn't have to be for anyone or even talk about it. It's like people are saying stuff about like being apolitical, and you can't be apolitical in this environment. Yes, you can. It's America. You don't have to talk about politics. And I apologize if I didn't preface this that this is going to be a little political. You don't have to talk about politics. No, you don't. As a matter of fact, we'd be better off if people would kind of calm down with their politics a little bit. But people are like, and being apolitical because you don't want to get into that fight, or you feel like it's a distraction from things that are important, which it is. It's like we forgot somewhere along the lines that we live in a country of freedom. You have your American right, and I'm not saying you don't have to talk to someone if you feel as though someone that follows Republican or something and you don't agree and you don't want to talk to them anymore, that's that's also your right. But should that be the defining factor to a person who you could have been friend or may have been friends with for years because you just disagree on the politician, and you may have your own reasons why, and maybe good reasons on either side for why you feel a certain way. I know Diane Guerrera, who I'm really starting like acting wise. I think I'm starting to like her. I haven't had a lot of experience with her acting wise. I know she's a little extreme. I'm starting to notice as I followed her, but I also noticed that there's a factor for her belief too. Like her parents were deported. That's a thing that weighs heavy. People's life experiences also lead them down the path of what they believe and why. And that does make sense for where she feels, but people seem to always go to these extremes. But as an American in a country of freedom, we should not be persecuted. Sorry, my cat's doing something. We should not be persecuted and punished because we decide not to do a side, or we decide not to do the side that you think is personally right. That's not how that should work. We're not a communist country. We're not like China. And I see so many people like, we're not socialists. We're not China. Okay, then if we're not, then why are we trying to force people to lean to one side? And then if they don't lean to that side, we go bananas. Like, no, you need to lean to the side I tell you to. That's not America. That's a communist move. China does that. Then I seen that there was YouTube people and others like uh that go against this, and they're like, vote my way and stuff like that. And I'm just like, what? And like, people have blue check marks and things, and I'm looking at these people, and they're like coming at them, or like, you got some of them, I think later I'll talk about that more, but they're like, no, you can't be. And then like Mark Ruffalo and were saying something, and Zoe Saldana, these same righteous people are saying insanely racist things, saying insanely mean and terrible things, like telling Mark Ruffalo, who is very vocal about his politics, to go die. This man has actually been through a lot. He's almost died and stuff, and that's like almost like telling a cancer patient who's in recovery that I wish you were dead. With Zoe Saldana, one of the worst things I seen, which I think is disgusting, because you same people are like, you're supposed to be the righteous good ones, yet you associate her with an old slur that I'll put it to you like this, because you can look it up yourself, that puts her with matching an animal, a certain type of animal that people of my skin complexion have been called. That makes you the bad person. You do understand that, right? That makes you the fascist, because then they're like, oh, well, Trump is a fascist. But when you do stuff like that, that actually makes you a fascist. Your response when you're saying racial things or mean things, not trying to have discourse, but trying to attack verbally and using all of these slurs and these things and wishing stuff, that's really bad. And I think people need to look up what fascism is too, because I think you're missing it. But according to Twitter, Christians are the only religion that seems to be against the LGBTQ plus community, and that's not how that works either. A lot of religions are against that, and once again, like I said before, this isn't a one-to-one situation. You can still follow a religion and stuff and a thing and disagree with some of it. That does happen. And looking at Zoe Saldana's Twitter, for example, and seeing what some of the people were saying, looking at like our Robert Downey Jr.'s and stuff, I look at these people and I'm like, what makes you think that this is going to make you go to my side? As a matter of fact, I find it downright disgusting. Looking at hers in particular, I'm like, I, out of spite, would go oppose you, out of spite. And these are people who support most of these people's ideas on, liberal and stuff like that. And there's people like, I can't believe Chris Pratt is this, and I can't believe he's a Trump supporter. I can't believe he's a fascist supporter. Like, he's never said any of that. He's never claimed to be a Trump supporter. As a matter of fact, from what I understand, he donated to Obama a few years back, as a news reporter has said. But not wanting to be about politics or talk about politics, that is the thing. I mean, I don't even talk that deep about it. I'll talk about a situation of something I may not like, but I don't even go into my politics and political beliefs like that, because you don't need to, unless it's, something to talk about. And religion and politics should be for you, free of thought and free of choice. And I think it's wrong that people don't seem to remember that. You don't have to also vote for your party. Just because someone is a Republican, they may like the Democrat. Or because someone's a Democrat, they might really like the Republican. So they might go, I'm going to do this. Like, people think, well, I'm a Democrat, so I vote all Democrat. That's your prerogative. Or I'm a Republican, I vote all Republican. That's your prerogative. There are people who go, you know what? I vote for the person I think is the best. But that's all your prerogative as an American. That's the beauty of being an American. We have the choice. It's crazy. And then I seen some people go, Pratt's privilege, the guy who lived in a van and gives to charity. And I think it was like Phil DeFranco said something like, yeah, his privileged decision to be in. It's your privilege as an American. You can make the choice. You also have the choice not to vote at all. I'm not saying I agree with that, but that's a choice. Like, we as Americans, we have these rights. You're telling them and trying to sell him. And then it was funny too, because I did see in DeFranco's thing, like there are people like, yeah, the YouTube guy that makes YouTube money sitting there telling us that he's one of us. People were like, yeah, you're worth like 12 mil. How are you going to tell us? Kind of thing. And it's very telling because a lot of these people do that. They're like, well, you're privileged. And it's like, well, aren't you like not exactly where we are for some of us? Like, you got money, you got this. And not saying you can't say nothing, it's just it's funny how quickly I see people do that. It's like they forget that they're in that same bubble too. Half the issues in the US that people keep bringing up to fight with each other seems to be political. At least, like I said, half of them. And from what I'm understanding, it's everybody screaming, but nobody listening. And so it's the other side is evil, or and no matter which one, both you're crazy for following them. And actually, you both are. Both sides are not perfect. That's the point of the my 50-50 statement. If you're 50% of the time, if you're only following one side, you're wrong. Like, this is crazy. You gotta think beyond your face, people. You gotta think deeper than that. Now you got John Voight, who supports Donald Trump and goes on a 2 to 2.5 minute rant. And it was very funny because I didn't see a lot of people that are conservative that I follow that normally sit there and go, "You're supposed to act, dance for me, monkey." They didn't do any of that, so that's very telling. Because normally any other actor that says something, that's what they do. Also, people are like, "Oh, God bless him," and blah 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 blah. And it's like, okay, well, this dude left his kids and his wife who was sick and for cheating and stuff, and but because he supports your idea, and this is nothing against John Voight, I actually think he's a very good actor, and I know they reconciled, but then they were like, oh, he's checked out his kids, and it was like, you guys say the statistic is that father of this home makes the kids do this, and I think his kids are pretty well to do, and may not have all the mental faculty there or whatever, but yeah, hypocritical. Then I seen where like The Rock did support for Biden, and then there was people that were like, "Yeah, that's right. The Rock is one of us." And I'm like, no, Rock has been political this year. Rock is not normally a very political person. I think he's very upset about what happened with Trump because this is the first time I've ever seen him like, "Where are you?" Like he normally didn't talk like that, and I think it's because he feels very passionate. But I didn't see a lot of people come at The Rock either. But that's because a lot of people like The Rock. So all of a sudden, he's known to be a nice guy. Same thing, hypocritical. People a lot of times choose what they want to fight versus what they don't, and it's funny. It's very telling. But at the end, Rock and some actors support Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and some support Donald Trump and Pence. At the end of the day, who cares? They're just a person like you. They just have a different job. They're in your face more. And if my personal opinion, if and like I said with The Rock, he's gotten in trouble when he was younger. He did stuff, um, you know. But my personal opinion is that if an actor or a musician is the only thing that can sway you for thought, maybe you should rethink that. You should. I understand if they're very influential, if you care, or if you follow, but it's a different story when you start to idolize them to that level where I vote this person, then I'm voting that person because that person said they're going to vote for that person, so I'm doing it too. Like, you should think about that. I wish we could stop the Twitter chaos because Twitter is also like a very small percentage of the population, yet so many companies and everything bow down to Twitter, and that just needs to stop. these people are also in the ether because, in all honesty, here's the trick that I tell everyone: if social media or any type of thing is getting you down, turn it off. Go do something else. Go watch something else. Go read something else. Read a comic book. Read a book. Play a video game. Watch a movie. I know some video games have gotten very political. Well, play one that's not political. They're still out there, but that's the big thing. You got to do, like, you can't have this be all a part of you. And also, being that extreme on either side pushes people away. So all of you attacking Chris Pratt, I've had people even say it. They're like, "I've never seen Chris Pratt do anything mean. Well, why are they attacking him? Oh, it's a political thing. What side? I've actually seen this. What side? Mm. Maybe something's off about that. I kind of fall that side. Now, we also have to remember too, the extremes aren't always what the so a Democrat, and people associate Democrat with left, and then there's extreme, and then conservatives consider it right, and then extreme, and then people also have to remember the extremes are radical and ridiculous. That doesn't make every person that's a left leaning person that way or believe that stuff. Also, too, just because someone's a Democrat doesn't always mean they lean fully left either. They could have a lot of right reviews, but the certain little box ticks make them be Democrat. Same as a Republican. They don't have to lean all the way right. Certain little box cues can lean them actually more towards Democrat, but certain things hit them as Republican. But extremes push people away because it's like hatred to love. It's in comic books and everything. And it's funny that most of the Pratt complainers that seem to be, because I've seen people come at like Phil the Great, Rick Franco, and all them. Um, a lot of people are pointing out that it's like rich and middle class people that are doing this, not like people that aren't that rich or middle class, which is also interesting. I didn't say that. Like I said, people did it. But then you get also people like, I don't mean to throw shade, but people have said things. Grace Randolph, who says things like he did it to himself. He just needs to say something. And I'm like, why does he need to say something? Why does he have to speak out or do anything? Like, and also, how did he do it to himself? By not being political? And I seen some people like, no, you can't be. You have to say this. No, you don't. Remember, as an American, you have the choice. And if you're starting to harass someone for making their American choice, would you like a foreign country to come in and start telling you, well, you're this, so you need to vote that way? No. And you are a foreign entity to that person. So Chris Pratt doesn't know you. He doesn't owe anyone anything. Nobody does. If he doesn't want to give an explanation and he doesn't want to get involved in politics because he thinks it's all crazy distractions, that's fine. And Grace Randolph goes from, I'm not going to talk about this, but no, there's no but. You shouldn't have said nothing. But of course, she says all this stuff. Hey, I'm part of Rooster Teeth now. Promotion. And it's also funny because I know Warner Brothers, Rooster Teeth, and all that is getting these situations. Let's just say they got some stuff going on, and for her to turn around, I'm like, why don't y'all focus on that? And it's funny how in a world where a bunch of Hollywood people with the Me Too movement are trying to tell people how to vote, how to live, how to do stuff. And a lot of these people, yet they knew about like the Rat Pack situation, because I forgot the guy that runs it, Harvey Weinstein, and all these other situations, but they're the people to tell you how to do stuff when a lot of them turned a blind eye. And they were around him. They knew. And some people were like, well, I didn't know the islands, the different stuff. You start digging in. Yes, some of you kind of can't say that. There's enough there to show that maybe it did. But yet, they're not trying to cancel all of them. No, I'm not saying you should cancel them. What I'm saying is there's this huge hypocritical argument. People vote the way they want to. Not everyone needs to talk about politics if they don't want to. And they shouldn't have to. And for you to try to push them, really, it's actually none of your business. And it's kind of crazy because it's not. It's not anybody's business who you vote for, what you vote for, anything like that. We need to remember that. It's, stop being so hyper political. Think of other things in your life. Being consumed like that and jumping on people and calling them terrible because they didn't either tell you who they vote for or how they're going to vote or anything. Also, they could lie to you. He could sit there tomorrow and be wholesale, I'm voting for Trump. And then tell you guys, yeah, Biden, vote for Trump. You don't know what a person's voting for behind those closed doors. So let's just take a breath, calm down, and chill. By the way, the only political thing I seen him say too was neither side actually he feels represents him. That's the only quote. He's never quoted he's a Trump supporter. He's never quoted any of that stuff. The only thing he's ever quoted was he felt neither side actually fully represents him. So think about that. And also something about his shirt that was patriotic, but they said it could be political because I had the tread me thing. Like, stop trying to find reasons to attack him. That's a stupid thing. When you go to the history, like, it's a patriotic shirt. But then they're like, yeah, and it's nothing wrong with it. But no, there is no but. It's a patriotic shirt. Let it go. And then there's some people, he follows Ben Shapiro. So I follow both conservatives and Republicans myself, and as well as liberals and Democrats, because I want to hear what both sides have to say. That's called being fully rounded and fully educated. So stop that too. Doesn't matter who you follow. That doesn't mean you agree with everything anyone says. Stop thinking everything is, well, you either 100,000% agree with me or you're done. No, that's stupid. Get over yourself. Get over yourself. Shut up. Be smarter. Be better. Think beyond your face. Please. Let's be better. This is the Geek Protagonist. You stay safe, you stay healthy, you stay real. And I'll see you. Hey, thank you for visiting my channel. This is the Geek Protagonist. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Please, it'll really help me out in the channel if you actually share these videos. If you like what I'm doing, please hit that bell notification. Hit it, click. This way you won't miss any of my videos. Also, there's a thing on there that says personal and all. Hit the all. This way you'll get them every time for the notifications. I'm trying to, grow, trying to do commentary about what's going on. And I want to thank you again. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay real. This is the Geek Protagonist. I'm out, and I'll see you.